It's a wonderful experience, but
Well,
not to be able to do that would be deadly.
yes, but I'm taking great joy in teaching older people now. I think Saffire is really we are a music device, but we're also a teaching device. We bring a message of freedom to older women in particular. The same kind of freedom that allows people, you know, that poem about purple, I'll wear purple and red and
right.
blah, blah, blah. We've been dishing out that kind of freedom for 20 years. We've been dishing out the same freedom of vagina monologues for 20 years. Yeah. And so we're teaching on a different kind of level and through a different kind of vehicle. But it's all about freedom. And it's all about being honest first to yourself. And also I'm teaching now with my History of Women in the Blues workshop. These women were the foremothers, and they taught independence and taught about oppression and sang about how to rid oppression. And so I'm combining my teaching skill with my passion for blues, and it's joyous.
Of course.
Yeah.
How did Saffire actually come about? I should say Saffire / the Uppity Blues Women.
Yeah. Well, first of all, with that name, when we first went on the road, we went on the road in '88. We started in '84. We went on the road in '88. And
now,
we were
was it just you and Ann?
It was and Earlene Lewis.
And Earlene
in '88.
Okay.
At any rate, we were just Saffire, Saffire. There was a top 40s Latino woman named Sa-Fire. Her fans were coming to our show. Our fans were going to her show. Our lawyer and her lawyer got together. And we had the name longer, but she was bigger, better known. So to avoid litigation, a lot of people were calling us Uppity Blues Women. To avoid litigation, we had to put that appendage on our name, and so there you have it. We never would have named ourselves that big mouthful. We wouldn't have gone by that big mouthful of a name. So, but Saffire, let's see, it goes back. Ann and I have been playing together over 25 years. She gave me guitar lessons back in the late 70s. And then we started doing duos together. We performed, our first gig was for the Unitarians out at the college. That was our first gig, and I have a photo of that time. Then we did the State Now conference and a couple other little gigs. She went her way, I went my way, whatever. I got a call to play at Holiday Inn South when it first opened out here on Route 1. It was this big hotel at the time. And I knew that my sound with my little guitar was too thin for the room. So I called Ann up and said, you know, would you please join me on this gig? And she said, well, okay, but I play piano now too. But the thing was, she didn't have a piano. So we used to sneak in the college practice rooms, and we worked up our act, and we started playing as a duo. Ann was teaching at Germanna, computer programming class. Earlene was in the class, and she needed a makeup test. So Ann said, I'll come to your house and give you the makeup test if we can use your piano to practice. So we did, and while we were practicing, Earlene came down and she played upright bass. So she joined in, and the three of us started playing at Holiday Inn on off nights, and it just grew. It just grew. It went from one lounge, and then they opened another room, and then they opened another room. We were playing on Sunday and Monday nights, and it was packed every night. And this was in '84. So come '88, Ann's daughter graduated from college, and Ann had always said, once Lizzie graduates, I'm going to do this full-time for a living, and do you want to go? I was like, well, okay, I'll do it for a year. You know, I'll try anything for a year. I got a year's leave of absence from James Monroe, and again, it just grew. So I guess we were doing something right.
Apparently, yes. Yeah. Well, when you move from just the local scene into the big music world, and
Well, let's make this correction right now. The blues is not a big music world. The only household name in the blues world is B.B. King.
but isn't there a kind of resurrection of interest in or growth in
Name me
interest
one
in
more person.
Handy? Not
He
existent.
did. He'd have been dead. He'd have been dead. Like when I talk about this legendary blues cruise that I was just on, I start to tell people about the other bands that were on the cruise, but I know they don't know the bands. And these are great bands. But, you know, you've probably never heard of Little Milton. You've probably never heard of Derek Trucks. You've probably never heard of Ronnie Baker Brooks. You might have heard of Taj Mahal. No? Okay, and he was the headliner. Susan Tedeschi, she was nominated for a Grammy for New Artist a couple of years ago, and that's really rare that anybody from the blues world, you know, so Room Full of Blues was there. You have all these great, wonderful acts, but the fact is, blues doesn't get commercial airplay, and we don't get the royalties. We don't get, it's not a field where you make money. If you can make a living doing it, that's great. So we've been able to make a living, but, you know, by the end of the month, I'm counting my pennies to get a pizza. And that's the truth of the matter. I tell you where I eat. We won't go there. Yeah, but, you know, the fact of the matter is, you know, anybody with a regular job probably has a better 1040 adjusted gross income than I do.
But how much satisfaction do
I'm
they
doing
have?
what I love.
Yeah,
I'm doing what I absolutely love. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why. I probably because I don't know it. I sort of hear or think I hear that there is interest in the blues, or maybe it's the commercials that are being done.
Every
on television.
commercial on TV, whether it's beer or I saw an ad night before last for an internet dating service, and the music behind it was an acoustic blues guitar and a harmonica. But the thing is, whoever was playing that blues and playing that harmonica, and it was really good, nobody knows who it is. And it's some music that will perk your ears in a heartbeat, but, you know, it's all generic. Every beer ad, every Levi's ad, every Volkswagen ad, the musicians don't get the fame and the notoriety.
Of course,
yeah. So except for B.B. King, the queen of the blues is Coco Taylor. People don't even know her. That's Coco right there. Right there.
We should.
She's Coco.
This.
And I'm proud to say that Coco and Saffire are on the same record label.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful,
right.
wonderful, wonderful. The this little publication that I have in my hand is kind of interesting because it does say a presentation of the history of women in the blues, and it does give you a little bit of an idea of where things were and where they are. And it's just in one little publication, but I'm sure there must be lots of information out there about the blues.
Oh, there's a lot of information, but I guess as with all things grow and evolve, and blues in the 20s was probably comparable to rap music today. A lot of, especially the blues from the 30s, when the women were the first ones recorded for public consumption in the 20s. In the 30s, you had more solo male guitar players due to the Depression, I do believe. But a lot of the content is not that far off from what rap is today. And so here's another slogan. This is from Willie Dixon. Blues is the roots, all else is the fruits.
Oh,
yeah, and that's the way it is.
What about in your travels? Excuse me. You mentioned touring elsewhere, especially out of the country. How much interest is there in the blues outside of the United States?
A lot, especially in Europe. But we've played in Brazil, we've played in New Zealand, we've played in South Africa, Spain. Oh, Spain, they eat us up in Spain. God, I love Barcelona. Barcelona. So the interest is there. The interest is definitely there. I think a possible